Let's Get Down to Business is presented by Bravo, the marketing arm of Ash Brokerage Corporation, the practice enhancement company. All this week, it's our top sales ideas for 2013. And on today's show, how to sell life insurance strategies. And with me is top of the table and MDRT platform speaker, Tom Hagna. Hi everyone, I'm Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and contributing author to Backroom Technician. Let's get down to business. Well, welcome to day 5, Tom.
Thanks, Steve.
Man, you're opening our eyes. If you have not seen the front end of this week, I really exhort you to go and watch it in sequence. I think you'll have a better educational experience for it. We really set up a tutorial talking about optimal retirement, talking about efficient retirement, talking about the new alpha. I mean, there's a lot of great material. Those first 2 shows were to die for. So if you've missed those shows, I need you to hop out to our site, write it down to business.ashbrokerage.com and just pick up the back shows. Those are really good shows. And of course, Tom's got his book out, Paychecks and Playchecks. Again, if you want your own copy, just go ahead and write us and we'll just see what we can do for you on that. But you could actually put your own name on here and do a little co-author here. I love that, with your own bio on the inside.
And your own picture on the back of it.
Yeah, my Steve Savant's picture compared to Tom Hagna's, I don't know. I don't see that happen. Well, let's talk about life insurance. Yesterday's show we were all over the amount, the death benefit amount.
Right.
What do you really need to cover reality, what we are? And we were in a low interest rate environment. That's all we talked about yesterday. A lot of people are using your optimal strategies on combination annuities, 5-year SPIA. Yeah. 5-year DIA, 10-year indexed. And then at the end, to really polish it off, you're looking at tax-free income as long as the client keeps the actual policy insured, keeps the contract in force for their life. We're looking at free.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that, because this is still new to a lot of our security advisors.
One of the key advantages of permanent life insurance is that you can take out tax-free income in retirement. And I think people underestimate how powerful tax-free income is. We're $17 trillion in debt. Our debt is climbing at $2 to $3 billion every day, and Ben Bernanke's printing $3 billion every day. You do the math on all this, it doesn't work out real well over long term. And if I had to ask you, where do you think taxes are going from here? I think it's obvious to anybody that taxes are going to go up. And if taxes are going up in the future, my question is, how much sense do IRAs and 401ks make? Because when you're putting money in an IRA or 401k, what you're saying is, I don't want to pay tax today. No, I'm going to wait in the future to pay tax. Well, that works fine when taxes are going down. I don't want to pay tax at this high rate. I'm going to put my money in this IRA or 401k, defer the taxes, let taxes go down over time, and then when I retire, I'll retire in the lower tax bracket, then I'll pay my taxes. Makes perfect sense. But it doesn't make sense to say I'm not going to pay tax when I could have down here when taxes are low. No, I'm going to defer those babies till the taxes get way up high, and then I'll take it out. That doesn't make sense. So what I talk to people about is a concept called tax diversification. And tax diversification simply says, don't put all of your money in pre-tax dollars. Because if all your money's in IRA or 401k, when taxes go up, and mark my words, they will go up, and when taxes go up, you're going to get hammered in taxes. Doesn't it make sense to maybe diversify and put some money into things that are tax-free, things like Roth IRAs and things like permanent cash value life insurance, so that when you get to retirement, okay, you got some money in an IRA or 401k, but now you got tax-free money that you can take money out. That's called tax diversification.
Do you see, are we strategic enough thinkers from an advisor point of view to pick that up on, I got taxable, tax deferred, and tax free, and I'm now doing a diversification on the basis of the taxation?
Oh, I think there are advisors out there who just do that. I mean, there's advisors out there, I think of, Patrick Kelly and some of those tax-free retirement and all that. Those books are all about tax-free retirement. And my book, Paychecks and Playchecks, talks about it. I talk about the importance of having tax-free income in retirement, but then I also talk about the importance of taking longevity risk off the table, which tax-free retirement can't do by itself. You need some form of an annuity to do that. But I'm a big believer in permanent life insurance as a source of tax-free income.
So when we're looking at tax-free income using life insurance, now there's a lot of choices here. You have participating whole life, dividend, you have interest rate on UL, current company assumption interest rates. You have index, which could be domestic, it could be foreign, and you have variable, which have separate sub-accounts that are invested in stock and bonds, more market driven. So when I'm looking at things like that, I have to do a risk threshold first before I make it, because if I'm doing it for income, I have to figure out how comfortable am I. And I noticed I had a case the other day. I want you to talk to this. They were down to, I'm going to look at indexing and I'm going to look at participating whole life. It was interesting. In indexing, I could tell the person that he won't lose any money, but he still has policy bills to pay.
Right.
So there could be negative years, right? Okay. He looked at the whole life where we were using a base policy with term rider and a paid up addition rider. And even though it wasn't going to generate as much as the S&P at 5.5, and I pulled it way down, he liked the guarantees. And he said, and the company we're looking at just happened to, their dividend history was so good that it actually beat the treasuries over the last 20 years. Yep. That seems to be a play where people say, I like that lower. My risk threshold is not over here in variable. It's really over here in guarantees.
Yeah. And I think we might even go into the second session on this because I could go get real deep
Let's
in
do
the
it.
weeds on whole life and index. But I say in general, and this is my observation from being in the business 25 years, if you look at an entire market cycle, interest rates up, interest rates down, inflation up, inflation down, you look at an entire market rate cycle, I think it would be very hard to beat a whole life policy through the whole cycle. Mm-hmm. Now, there's times in the cycle where a whole life looks bad. There's times in the cycle where whole life looks especially attractive. But through the whole cycle, I think it's very hard to beat whole life. Mm-hmm. Now, having said that, in my book, I say that I was the national variable life guy for MetLife, so I have a special place in my heart for variable life as well. And the new index life policies are very attractive where you get, some of the upside, but you don't get the downside. My concern about indexed is, can they maintain those caps at 12 and 13 and 14%? Because if you remember, indexed annuities when they first came out had caps at 12 and 13 and 14% too. So if they could maintain the caps and keep the spread similar to where we are now, I think indexed universal life looks very attractive. But I got to say, through the whole cycle, I think whole life has proven to be the superior product. But we can get deeper in the weeds on the second half if you want to.
I think we'll do that. And because that's controversy, and I love controversy on the show. Well, when we come back from the break, we're going to continue down the menu of life insurance strategies. We're going to talk about some of these ideas. And don't forget, you can view more of Tom's sales videos right at his website, tomhegnaondemand.com. And while you're online, don't forget you can sign up for your own 30-day free trial offer for Backup Technician. Just go out to their site, brtnow.com/trialsignup.aspx. We'll be right back with more from Tom Hegna on life insurance strategies that you can actually put inside your plan. Right after the break. Back in the day, life insurance professionals were called field underwriters. Then, carriers trained their field force in the basics of life insurance underwriting. Today, the insurance industry doesn't educate the agent population as they once did. But now you can have the Informed Risk Guide at your fingertips so you can illustrate a reasonable rate class for your life insurance prospects. Just request your copy of the Informed Risk Guide at downtobusiness.ashbrokerage.com. It's free from Ash Brokerage, the practice enhancement company. Well, welcome back. I'm Steve Savant with Tom Hegna. And remember, you can watch all our episodes of Let's Get Down to Business, including my weekly consumer show, Steve Savant's Money, the name of the game, right at ashbrokerage.com. Just click on the show logo, and it'll take you right out to the homepage. And just a heads up, before moving forward with any of the ideas on our show, always consult your tax advisor, legal counsel, as well as your broker-dealer compliance officer. Well, we're talking about life insurance, and I just laid out in the first segment the 4 basic chassis for income. And Tom, man, you almost sounded like you're a whole life aficionado. I mean, you seem like you like it, but you also have cautions right now about that as well.
Yeah. So here's what I say about whole life. I said over the whole cycle, I think it's a superior product. But you got to remember, we've been in a 30-year bull market for whole life. Now, what do I mean by that? Here's what I mean. Whole life products will always pay dividends that move in the direction of interest rates, but slower. Okay, both up and down. Well, what has happened over the past 30 years? Interest rates have come down. And so what happens is when CDs were paying 7%, whole life dividends were higher. When CDs went down to 5%, dividends were higher. When CDs went down to 3%, dividends were higher. When interest rates went down to 1%, dividends were higher. And so we've been, for 30 years, as interest rates fell, the dividend on a whole life policy has been higher than what you could get in a normal CD at the bank. And that's what I call a bull market. But here's what's going to happen at some point, I don't know when, but when interest rates start going back up, then whole life will still move in the direction of interest rates, but slower. And so what'll happen is, let's say CDs went to 4%. Well, dividends would be lower. CDs went to 6%, dividends would be lower. Interest rates, CDs went up to 9%, dividends would be lower. And so that's when you're in a bear market, because people say, why would I buy this whole life? Because I can put my money in this CD and it's paying higher interest. And so we've been in a 30-year bull market. We're about to, at some point, I don't know when interest rates do turn and go up, then we could potentially be in a bear market for whole life. I'm not saying it's a bad product. I'm saying it will be perceived as a bad product. And the media will get up and say, oh, whole life's a ripoff. Look at us paying low dividends. You don't want that product, because we'll be on the other side of the scale.
When you compare, because we're talking about generating income, so if that's going to occur, and interest rates going up again, is current assumption interest rate UL going to be the play rather than even indexing?
Well, I do economic commentary, and I don't see interest rates heading much higher for a very long time. I don't think we're going to see high interest rates. I don't think we're going to see CD rates at 6 and 7 and 8% anytime, maybe even in our lifetimes. It's going to be a long time, and so I don't see interest rates heading higher. That's just me. If interest rates did spike, if they did start heading higher, then of course, then UL would come back in vogue, and whole life would be less in vogue, and then it kind of goes whole life, then universal life, then variable life, then index life. Whole life, it kind of goes in almost like that.
I think when people are anticipating, if advisors and/or clients are anticipating any kind of interest rate upswing, they're going to be stuck looking at these two areas: current assumption UL, because it's interest rate driven, and indexing, because the options there are done by their portfolio, which is interest rate driven. They're going to look at those two and look at the mechanics of it. The last 5 years, if you had a contract in VA or VUL, most of it should have been a good deal. This last 5 years have been unreal. So when I'm looking at that, I'm trying to think about withdrawals to basis. I can take that out free. I can take policy loans. They still charge for this, though. There's some cost to these things, and you got to look at every contract to find out, hey, is it zero net cost loans, wash loans, spread loans, direct recognition loans, and of course in indexing, you even have the election of arbitrage or participating loans.
Right.
When you're thinking about this, and you're looking at this as an advisor, because I know you advise a lot of people, do you ever look at the mechanics of some of these things for income?
Yeah, and for income, some of them have problems. For example, I'm a big variable life. I was a variable life guy. I believe in variable life. I think it's a great product, but it's not very good for income. Because variable life, you can get the order of returns that can just put you into a death spiral, and then you get the fees and you got the charges. And if you really want tax-free income in a life insurance policy, that whole life policy is very good at doing that. All right, it is very good. And maybe some of the index policies that have a little more flexibility, but the VUL is I'd put a red flag danger for income. I think if you use VUL to accumulate money, that's fine, but when you start needing income, I would think about 1035 exchanging that into something that's a little more stable for income.
Okay, now I went to the Thunderbird School of Management about 2 years ago. It's always here in Scottsdale, and I watched the two most popular seminars. One was on captive life insurance, and the other one was on VUL. And I'm looking at rich people who are billionaires, flying into Scottsdale saying, I love the tax wrapper of VUL.
Absolutely.
I love the accumulation, the price tag, the fees. A lot of this has come down over the years, so it's becoming more efficient. So if I was really a market person and I have non-qualified monies, because this is what we're really talking about, I think in the bulk, I accumulate, I love the accumulation stage, but now I'm ready to think about, Tommy, I'm thinking about distribution here in about 3 to 4 years. You're saying 1035, I might be pulling out of that too.
Could go into an annuity.
Right, could go into an annuity.
To get guaranteed lifetime income. You may be able to put it into another type of life insurance policy, maybe a single premium type policy that won't have the opportunity to blow up like some of these other, universal life. If you don't fund it properly, if you start taking too much money out, those policies can literally go into a death spiral and blow up. And you don't want to have that happen, because then all that money you thought was tax-free, you then have to pay tax on all of it. If that policy blows up before you die, you owe taxes on all that money you thought was tax-free, those gains. And so you got to be very careful.
You should, and Tom's giving us a very good heads up as advisors, because not only would I have to pay taxes on the money I took a constructive receipt, but nobody pays annual interest. They just let the cannibalization and cash values pick it up, and I'll owe all that money inside the contract, which I've never seen.
Yeah.
So it's an issue, but if it's done correctly, this can be huge for a client and deliver the kind of tax-free income they're really looking to. And, that's our show for today. Remember, you can read all my online insurance news commentary, advisor blogs, and articles on Producer's Web, and answers to consumer questions on theinsurancelibrary.com. And don't forget, you can view any of our past episodes. Just go out to our on-demand section right at downtobusiness.ashbrokerage.com. So follow me on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, or just email me at steve.savant@ashbrokerage.com. And remember, you could be wiser as an Ash Brokerage advisor. For Tom Hagman, this is Steve Savant. Thanks for watching.